The Bliss Business Podcast, the show about empathy, connection, and consciousness in business. Today's episode is brought to you by Zero Company, your paid search, social media, and programmatic ad experts.
Welcome back to the show, everyone. I'm Stephen Skash with my co-host, Mike Liskey, and our special guest today is our first show of 2026, so we're going to kick it off with a fun one here. So when businesses start to scale, many leaders struggle to maintain the sense of connection that made their company special in the first place. Customers want more than convenience. Employees want more than a paycheck. Franchise partners want more than a system. They want belonging. They want connection to something special. Today, we're exploring what it really means to build community and connection in business and how leaders can design growth without losing their soul. Mike, introduce our guest today.
Oh, Stephen, I would be delighted to. So our guest today is Carl Comeaux. You may know him as the CEO of Crust Pizza Company. Now, Carl has led the brand from a single neighborhood pizza concept into a fast-growing franchise system. Really, that's rooted in culture, community, and connection, which we know is very important to our show and that we love to talk about. Now, under his leadership, Crust has expanded across multiple markets while maintaining a strong commitment to local engagement, team development, and really giving back, which we're going to really want to dig in to today. So, Carl, welcome to the Bliss Business Podcast.
Yeah, thank you all for having me. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, yes.
Yeah. Now, question for you, Carl. Maybe, when we were looking at the topics that we were going to discuss, why was community-driven growth, why did that feel especially relevant to you and especially now?
Yeah, I mean, that's our number one value is commitment to giving back to the communities that we're in. And so whenever I was reading through the different topics you guys had, that just that hit home for me.
Yeah, I love talking about it too, especially with franchises, because you've got this weird relationship of being, a headquarters, but also trying to be local at the same time.
Yeah.
So, Carl, I mean, community can sound kind of like this abstract thing until you kind of experience the difference it makes. And when you look back at your journey with Crust Pizza Company, when did community and connection kind of move from being that nice idea to really that core leadership priority?
Yeah, I guess we could get started with our sites. We like to be in the local grocery anchored centers in the neighborhood. So whenever we were expanding, we started from a few stores to now 38 locations. We had to really define where do we belong in the market, and doing research on why Crust, why are we expanding. It really came down to our sites or our community focused. We like to be around the neighborhood. We like to be in the neighborhood. And then looking at our success, we realized that our success is coming from being connected into the communities with schools and churches and nonprofit organizations, and making sure that we're impacting the community around us. And the more we give, the more we receive. But we have to make sure that our site locations are within the community. And so that's when we were doing research on why do we exist, we really learned that. We were doing it, but it just became a bigger emphasis once we that light bulb went off in our head.
Definitely understand how that became a priority. Maybe digging a little bit deeper into that, Carl, around the idea of building community and connection. Now, you operate in an industry where really, margins, systems, and consistency, all of those things really matter. And then at the same time, you're also having, as you mentioned, you're building neighborhood gathering places in a way. So how do you perhaps balance, the operational discipline that you have to have in order to run a successful business with still maintaining that genuine human connection?
So it starts with picking the right franchisees, right? So it's very important that we find and we only award franchises to franchisees that have the same value that we're talking about. And so they have to have the value of wanting to be community focused. Because at the end of the day, we have great pizza and we pick great sites. But if the franchisee isn't 100% sold on the idea of community first, then it'll never be. And as we scale, that's important to have the right operators that believe in our values. And that kind of goes into culture. How do you have a strong culture? You have to have people that are aligned with the same values, or it's going to be an absolute it's going to be chaos.
Yeah.
So that's how we start. We make sure that we pick the right franchisees, and then from there, then they're going to pick the right general managers, and then the general manager is going to pick the right team that are all synergistic and unified with this idea and message of the more you give, the more you receive. And then that trickles down to what we do on a local, regional, and national level. And so I know we're probably going to get into that more, but that's really how you build that foundation that takes an idea and makes it a reality.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, like, that idea is great, and a lot of people talk about it, but are you actually doing it? And I think what takes the idea and makes it become reality is you have to have the right people in the right seat to make that happen.
Yeah. And how do you think that, I mean, that connection that you kind of want to build with your franchise owners, how does that kind of translate to the customer loyalty in your experience? I mean, you're trying to pick the right people because you want to build that connection, right?
Yeah. So communication is big with franchising. You know, a lot of brands I've seen in the past, you have your corporate island and then you have your franchisee island. And the idea is, how do you bridge those two islands together where you're unified on one team? And so, of course, there's activities that need to happen. So communication has to be really clear. I mean, we have a weekly email that goes out every single week on what's coming up next month, what's coming up next week. We have a franchise advisory council that we created with a few franchisees to where we meet quarterly to go over last quarter's results, to go over this quarter's outcomes. And then they take that message, and then they each member on the franchise advisory council has a group of franchisees that they are responsible for communicating that message of what we're doing, where we're going. So that way the vision is clear from A to Z. And I think that's the big missing piece in a lot of franchises is that clear communication across the board. Because if you have that, then it'll be much easier to scale. If you don't have that when you're small, it'll be impossible to achieve that when you get big.
Yeah. I think that makes a lot of sense. So is that, we're going to ask kind of, what do you see many, growing brands get wrong about developing community? So obviously that communication's just a huge one, right?
Yeah. And they pick, and they pick the wrong, they'll sign up everybody instead of being focused in on, because it takes 2 to 3 years to break even for a franchise business. I mean, it takes, so you're not making money until royalties are received. Well, to receive royalties, I mean, it takes, at least you have to develop, you have to sign up franchisees, which takes a year, and then you have to develop them, which takes another year. And so it's a 2-year process at least. And then you have to have a team to support these new franchisees before you're making any money. And so a lot of companies, I mean, there's 400 new franchises every year. And I've talked to a lot of new ones. I've been to conferences where I help facilitate and help these new brands. And I ask them, like, why are you franchising? You only have one location. You've been open for less than a year. Why franchise? And usually they can't answer my question. Or if they do, they're like, because I want to grow and I want to scale. And I'm like, okay, why? Why do you want to grow and why do you want to scale? Well, because I think this is a fast track to making money. I'm like, no, like, you don't understand. It's going to take a long time before you could make money with this if you do it right. And if you pick the right franchisees, because if you pick the wrong ones, then there's no validation. You're not going to sign up more after you've signed up your first 10. Your next 10 won't sign up because you won't be able to validate your first 10. They're not going to be successful if you don't support them. And so, yeah, anyway, that's
I love that you're out there pushing back with the why.
The why.
We do that a lot, but I mean, yeah, it's like you want more of what, really? I mean, right?
More chaos. You know, if you don't have the right franchisees, the right operators, you're just creating a huge tornado that is going to run through all your businesses. And then that's why less than 2% of franchises ever get to 100 locations. Why is that? It's because most of them do it wrong in the beginning, and then they never could rebound to get to the point where they could grow to 100.
So, Carl, I'm really interested in your thoughts here, maybe staying on the importance of people, because one of my sayings I love to always go back to is that people are our most important asset, and
is the most important.
Yeah. And so, in your experience, why or why not is it someone who's like very transactional focused or very bottom line focused and ROI focused? Why is that, like, franchising, or why do they end up maybe perhaps failing if that's like their primary focus? Like, what are the other things that they really need to be successful?
So we actually did a profile on all our franchisees. We did a survey, and we learned quite a bit. We use Oracle. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with that company, but we were able to identify the top performers versus the low performers. And what we learned was, one thing we learned was most of our franchisees they're achievers. And most of the time achievers aren't real empathetic. They're not on the empathetic side, right? They're more on the task-driven side of what you just mentioned.
Sure.
But the good news about achievers are they can learn empathy. They could learn that. And so they have this KPI mindset. It's all about the bottom line.
Right.
Let's make sure that we are profitable. But they're teachable. They're coachable to learn that empathy is important within the four walls and outside the four walls. And so usually, we'll get achievers that have already learned that empathy is important, that it's important to have that human connection. But we have also learned that we had some really amazing franchisees that are more empathetic first. They're more people focused first. Yeah. And that's worked out really well too. But they have their own issues that they have to work through to be achievers, right? So it's like there's no perfect person, but are they coachable? And what we look for in franchisees are people that are achievers, that are empathetic, but that want to execute a plan. I don't want people that want to create a new plan, because Crust Pizza, the plan works. Like, it's incredible. We love them to create autonomy, but at the end of the day, like, we don't want them to recreate Crust to Crust 3.0. Like, Crust is already good. Take it and execute it, and then go reach out and spend all your time with the community to get to know them and be the local mayor in your local city. Where when people think of Crust, they think of you. And then they think of what your team has done and your business has done for the community. And so anyway, that's that.
Good. Yeah, good point. I think there, to make sure we have the combination of the two. But I think your point there is almost like a perfect segue into our next segment on systems.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, when he's talking about that, I'm all achievers. Well, they like to see a bottom line. So it's like, well, let's give them like a triple bottom line, like, let's give them a bottom line for people, one for planet, one for profit too. And it'll be like, okay, now I can focus on all three of those. And then the same with that's someone who's very empathetic. Maybe they're just focused on the people one. It's like, okay, here's your other two bottom lines to focus on. So yeah, you can start developing kind of systematic approaches to solve some of these problems. And I want to get into some of that. I know we've mentioned a little bit of it right now, but a lot of companies, they may just rely on like a culture statement or something, without really designing a system that supports actual, connection and actual culture. So what practices or systems have you put in place at Crust Pizza to kind of ensure the community and connection show up in day-to-day operations?
Yeah, the big thing as far as why Crust, we want to be known as the local pizzeria in your community. I think back to whenever I was a kid, my mom cooked almost every single meal. So we would only go eat out once a week on Friday night, and it was for Pizza Hut. Pizza Hut with the red cups and the dim lighting, and it was just a memory that I'll always have.
Yeah.
And then they got away from that, but thinking about Crust and who we are and what we do is we're bringing that nostalgic dine-in experience back, where you could dine in with your friends or your family on that Friday night. Friday night's our busiest day of the week, and everyone could share one pizza for $15 to $20 for a family of four, and catch up from the day. How many different food cuisines can you do that, where you could eat off a $15, $20 pizza for four people? There's not many of them. So pizza, you can share it. And so pizza, whenever I think back of being a kid, they had the book club program, where if you read so many books, you get a free pizza. We do that. We do that at Crust. So we get the kids involved. When the kids come in, we give them a dough ball where they could play like Play-Doh and create an action figure out of it. We have Tavi, a mascot, that we have a workbook for Tavi. And so Tavi, the way he got his name was, we're tavern cut pizza. So we cut our pizza in squares. And so we named our mascot Tavi. And so the kids just love. For our grand openings, we have a full-size Tavi that comes out. Kids love taking pictures of him with him, and so they love doing the workbook with Tavi, coloring him, doing tic-tac-toe with him, and so forth. And so we're taking the nostalgic memories of how I enjoyed pizza as a kid, and we're instilling all those things plus more within Crust Pizza to make the kids' experience just incredible. When they get older, they'll be able to then experience that with their kids. Versus like for us, I can't bring my kids to a Pizza Hut because it's just takeout, and there's no dine-in experience anymore. 50% of our business is dine-in, 50% is to go and takeout. And so, it's special, and the dining room is important for connection and community involvement. We always say that our restaurant is a great place to bring your wife on a date night, or your spouse on a date night, or your kids after a ball game. It really satisfies both. And so that's really important to us. Our wine, we have beer and wine. Our wine, we have our house wine that's super affordable. We have half off wine Wednesdays. So the mom and dads love to come enjoy that. And while the kids play, they could catch up over a glass of wine. On Thursday, we have half off pint beer. Same thing for the dads that want more on the beer side. And then on Tuesdays, we have kids eat free. So the kids, the parents love that. It's a night that they don't have to cook, and the kids could eat for free. So we just have all these things that just foster a connection, community, and ultimately creating memories with your loved ones that will hopefully pass on to their kids down the road.
I mean, I have memories of, every Thursday night or Friday night going to pizza with my father-in-law, and doing that for a few years, or like those get-togethers with your soccer team or something right at the end of the season. You always have like these kind of special events, and it was always around the pizza place, right? And,
yeah.
For
That's absolutely brilliant. I love that. And with a franchise, system, you're able to duplicate that. But it's just awesome that, care is really at the center of all of that.
Yeah. And it goes back to, having the right operators that believe in having that community engagement and being the local mayor in their town, and then fostering that with their general manager and their team where they believe in the same values.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure your customer loyalty scores and your lifetime value numbers are probably way better than, I'd say, the competition. You're not just competing on price, but you've really built a connection there.
Like you could go to Google and I mean, we're 4.7, 4.8 plus. I mean, most are 4.950, right? So it's and the reason is because of that human connection.
Yeah, absolutely. Carl, maybe talk to us a little bit about and maybe even share some stories with us when things sort of, there's challenges, there's pressures, obviously with the franchise system, right? There can be a lot of pressures. When challenges or some of those conflicts do arise, like how do you perhaps, let's slow down here. Let's not lose sight of what's most important and really, be able to do the things that you need to do to continue to, preserve the trust that you've built and the connection that you've built.
Yeah. So I think going back to the Franchise Advisory Council, we could talk about those pressures. We have time in those meetings. I mean, it's a full day that we meet. And one section of the day is issues. What are the issues from not only the four franchisees that are part of the FAC, but all the other franchisees? What are the issues? What are the pressures? And because sometimes we won't see them as a corporate team. And we invite them, and then we talk about them, and we solve them. And so it's the franchisees understand that at the end of the day, we have the final say for where the brand goes, but we 100% take their feedback and decide on what our priorities are, so that way we can make sure we grow. Because at the end of the day, if the franchisees aren't growing, then we're not growing. If they're not successful, we're not successful.
Yeah. So I'm sure, obviously the COVID time period was very difficult for many, many, many people. Obviously, with the restaurant vertical, really important. How did you see, I guess, that loyalty, that customer, the culture, connection come to the fore during a very difficult time period like that?
Yeah. So we went from 60% dine in to 40% to go take out to we flipped it. It was like 35, 40% dine in, and the rest was to go pick up. Yeah. And for us, pizza is great to go. And so it was, and it's affordable. And so a lot of people were struggling because they weren't working and so it was one of those cuisines that you could still afford, and it's really good takeout. And so people really, we really didn't slow down as far as our revenues go. We stayed strong. We just saw a change in dine-in versus takeout. As far as how we came together through that time, I mean, we had to go through all the different procedures that from hygiene to health, the code with the mask, and I look at it this way: anytime there's a problem or there's a pressure, there's an opportunity to get closer. And that's what it did. It brought us closer together, because you either bring you closer or separate you.
Yeah, it's a sign of a good
wider.
culture if it brings you closer together.
Yeah. So two things could happen, and the good news is, it brought us closer together.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, right? Obviously, in the results or in the evidence, when there is pressure, do people retract or do they, lean in and come together?
You learn a lot about a brand or a team whenever everything goes sideways. Yeah. Because there's only two ways you can turn. You can either turn up and just focus, or you could, or you lose your mind and then separate. So yeah, we have a great team, and that's another thing I haven't mentioned much about is our team. Our corporate team is just incredible. We have amazing people that that believe in the mission and the vision that I've casted, and it's incredible. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do anything without them. I couldn't be in this conversation with you guys without them working hard right now. And so I'm very blessed to have an amazing group of people that work in day out that make it happen.
We've got a couple audience questions, but Mike, it sounds like a good segue for the purpose. Because he was just talking about the good people and their mission, the overall mission. So why don't we dive into that, and then we'll hit.
And this aligns perfectly. As well, Carl, you mentioned asking the question why a number of times. It's something that we as a marketing agency do with our own clients, and really want to dig in to that higher purpose, that bigger why. And we know that when leaders who stay connected to purpose for why they originally started their businesses, they tend to build more resilient organizations, because it's not just them, but everyone starts to really buy in. And so when you kind of like zoom out beyond the expansion and the performance metrics that we talked about, what's sort of like the deeper purpose that guides how you lead Crust Pizza company? What is that bigger why?
My personal goals or the goals of the brand on the why?
Feel free, I guess, if you're comfortable discussing both, but even maybe the brand.
Yeah, before, like, community's always been important to me personally. But it really took another level when I had my wife go through cancer, and then my son went through cancer treatments at St. Jude. Wow. And I got to walk those hallways for 3 years, and we're still walking. They're both cured from it, so that's hallelujah, thank God for that. But to walk those hallways is bittersweet, because not every kid's going to have the same outcome that my son had. And my purpose was always bigger picture, community. Let's make sure we're making big impact. But personally, I'm doing all this for a much bigger purpose. Like, all the money that the company makes and continues to make and continue grow and expand will be for a much higher purpose. The goal is for St. Jude. We raised over $100,000 the first year we were involved with them, and we're continuing to work with St. Jude to be able to help give back to what they're doing with cancer research for kids. I mean, they're taking cancer that used to be 10% success rate, and they're bringing it to 90 to 100%. Like, for example, my son's cancer, Dr. Pui, the guy that took him, that was his doctor, is 85 years old. His kids, or his cancer kids, he never had a wife. He is devoted to his kids that are going through it. When he started, the cancer my son had a 15% success rate. Now it has a 95% success rate.
Wow.
Dr. Pui is the one that created that protocol that he's on, and is continuing to do research to make that protocol easier on those kids' bodies. So that way they don't have side effects down the road. So 100% my higher purpose as I grow the brand and continue is much more, it's much bigger. I want to give at least half of my future wealth to companies like St. Jude, right? And so it's much bigger than the bottom line for me. It's to be able to give back. And that just drives you on a whole nother level that I couldn't even imagine until I went through it with my wife and then my son at St. Jude. Of course, it makes us appreciate every day. We're not granted tomorrow. And so it teaches you that, but then it also teaches you that at the end of the day, like companies like St. Jude or keeping kids alive, it's helping with research so kids have better longevity. And it's just amazing what they're doing. And so my why is massive, on a massive level. As far as the brand, and franchisees, of course, their why is to give back to the communities that they're in. Our values are commitment, respect, make sure that we're respecting each other, and unity. So making sure that we're doing it together as a team. Service. I just read the book Unreasonable Hospitality, which is incredible. Highly recommend it. And it's all about taking customer service and which is delivering the food at the right time and making sure the food quality is there and doing it with a smile, making eye contact. But unreasonable hospitality is taking it to that next level where you do the little things that make big impact and make people feel special. So for example, if it's your first time at Crust, we're going to go ahead. If you don't order an appetizer, we're going to bring you a garlic cheese bread, which is our number one appetizer. So that way you can enjoy it. It's those little things. Or if we hear it's your birthday, we're going to bring you a brownie on the house with a candle in it and sing you happy birthday. It's those little things that make that big impact.
Yeah. So, from the marketing side, we fully understand this is the surprise and delight. This is where you build emotional connection, is doing some of those little things, so even if you don't want to do it out of, kindness and love and just the community, it's going to help your business anyway, just because it's one of these things that build emotional connection.
Carl, thank you for sharing that story. And I
love that story.
Yeah. And I'm sure you were going through amazing, stress and pressure and maybe, bouts of depression. But having
it was during COVID for my son. So it was so one parent could be there. So my wife was there for like 6 months. So I had to be the dad to my other two kids. And I didn't realize how many underwear my son go through. I had to do the clothes. And I told I have identical twin boys. So one of the boys had it and the other boy didn't. And I'm like, dude, you go through so many underwear. And I called my wife, I'm like, man, bless you for going through this with him. Like, there's what's he doing?
Yeah.
But I had to, at that time, I was a mom, a dad, a business owner, and then trying to make sure that my son is getting better. And so, it was a lot, but God only gives you what you could handle, never more, never less. And so it was a blessing in disguise. And now it's a beautiful story that I could share and hopefully create more impact in the future, because I'm motivated at a whole nother level that I can't explain.
It's a whole nother level. And I was talking about this earlier this week with some of our people in our company, is about getting to that level of you're devoted to something, right? Yeah. And you mentioned that with the doctor, where he was devoted to something. This is where you're just appreciating what you do so much that you love doing it. You love the impact, and it's beyond kind of obligation, right? It's not just an obligation. It's like something that you could do all day, every day. And so having that bigger why for you, it's really, it just changes everything, I would think, for you.
Oh, I'm on fire on a whole nother level.
Yeah. You're on a whole nother
level. Unbelievable. Yeah.
All right. We've got a couple audience questions. Let's go ahead with one of those. Let's see. When someone looks back on their time with Crust years from now, how do you hope they described how it felt to be a part of it?
I hope they felt like it was one of the best. If it's for an employee, I think that's what they're asking for employee. Yeah, that they learned a lot. They were trained well, and they saw the vision of the career that it could become, because every cashier understands that they could eventually go from making $8 an hour to becoming a general manager. And so for them, having that career path is huge. So I would hope that they all feel like they have that career path ahead of them, that if they want it, it's there, and that we did great things with creating memories with the guests, and then adding community involvement to tie it all in.
All right. Thank you. From a LinkedIn user there. We got another guest question. Audience question. Let's see. Is there a moment where you realized growth was testing your culture, and how did you respond to that?
Oh, wow. Good question.
Yes, absolutely. Growth, picking a wrong franchisee. Thought we had a good one, and then it turned out that it was not a good fit. And so that made us really step back and reevaluate our vetting process with future franchisees, to make sure that we have a better vetting system to ensure that we have the right ones sign up for future growth.
Yeah, I think that's a sign of a growing company, is when you get to that level of where you know what not to do.
Right.
You learn that.
Yeah, you learn that the hard way often, but it's like we know our no's. So one question we like to ask everyone, Carl, on the show is some form of this is, what role does love play in business?
What role does love play in business? Well, it plays a big role because people want to feel loved. They want to feel special. And so if that's not ingrained in your business, then what are you doing?
Yeah. I mean, if you're looking for that connection with people and connection on a deeper level, you're right. Like, what are you doing? We get that question too. Sometimes that when I ask that question, it's like, if you're not doing this, then what are you doing? That's a common, not common, but we've heard that a few times, like 2 or 3 times over the few years we've been doing it. It's like, well, then what are you doing? I mean, which I think is really, if you step back,
think about it. Like what are we're wanting to create memories for guests with their friends or family. That's love. That's making them feel special. Or if you own a massage service, you're wanting people to feel relaxed and feel good after they get off that massage table. That's love. That's special. I mean, I feel like in every business, if love's not in it, then yeah, what are you doing?
Yeah,
we would agree. It's got to be at the core, and hopefully, I know for sure, some of the listeners and our followers, Carl, are going to take away some of the things that you've even mentioned here today, and be able to implement those things and be able to infuse their businesses with love, and be able to infuse as well maybe a higher purpose and a bigger why in their organizations. Now, Carl, for others that want to learn a little bit more about either you personally or Crust Pizza Company, where do you want them to perhaps connect with you or follow back?
Sure. I mean, I'm on LinkedIn, so you can connect with me there, and then also crustfranchise.com. You can learn more about what we're doing with Crust.
And what kind of franchise person do you want to be showing up at that page signing up, Carl?
What kind of franchisee?
Yeah, what are you looking for in that franchisee?
Most of our franchisees are usually owner-operators, and they usually come from corporate America, usually working 60 hours a week, usually have skill level of management, and they are sick and tired of making money for someone else. And so usually they go from, having a really good salary, having a good 401k, to now being able to become their own boss and become their own business owner. And so we love to take them from where they're at and then make them a business owner and show them the ropes, and that is possible. And then from there, then multi-unit growth. Because every franchisee, their goal is not just to open up one; it's to open up multiple locations within their area.
Yes, this is key.
Love it, Carl. Thank you for joining us today. To our listeners, thanks for the questions. And as you think about your own business and leadership journey, consider how intentionally you are building community and connection. As we talked about, when people feel something special, it's not just the right thing, but your business does grow stronger, and our communities get more and more connected to each other. And we need a lot more of that these days. So thank you for joining us on the Bliss Business Podcast, and we'll see you next time.